So this last week has been one of the worst ever for AAA gaming. I mean, as a longtime advocate for the complete destruction of AAA gaming, I'm here for it, because first there was the Helldivers 2 PSN debacle, which still hasn't been resolved because there's still 170 plus countries who haven't gotten the game back on PC, and apparently now Sony is rolling out country restrictions for Ghost of Tsushima as well, because apparently it's literally impossible for Sony to be a remotely competent PC publisher, and yet they insist on being one. Then after the Helldivers thing, Microsoft decided to one-up them by shutting down one of their only consistent studios because they were being too consistent, I guess. Then EA came out of the woodwork and was like, hey, don't worry guys, we're gonna save gaming with a new Battlefield game that is a tremendous live service. And then immediately after that, Andrew Wilson was also like, hey, you know what? AI game development is cool and groovy and everyone agrees with us. Even though evidently nobody agrees with you. Ubisoft's been weirdly quiet through all this. Like, I'm 100% expecting Ubisoft to jump out of the closet any day now and be like, surprise, Splinter Cell Remake is a looter shooter now, or something. But as much as some things catch on fire and some things disappear into the lava like the end of Terminator 2, spoiler alert, some things stay the same. And as long as PlayStation exists, so will PC ports of PlayStation games. And as long as PC ports of PlayStation games exist, so will PlayStation fanboys getting really angry about them for no reason. Even though, as I've said many times, if you call yourself a fan of PlayStation and their IPs, I'd imagine you want more people to experience them, and thus you would be excited about the prospect of more people getting to play PlayStation IPs, but there I go again on my big train engine full of logic and rational thinking. So the other day, it was reported that Sony is possibly going to be announcing a PC port of God of War Ragnarok in the near future, which I totally buy because Ragnarok's PC port leaked a long time ago, and Sony is probably going to have their big spring showcase soon, which means no doubt they're also going to announce a new PC port or two. If we're going off established history, they'll probably wait until the day after the showcase to announce the PC ports on Twitter, because that's just how Sony operates for some reason. But then again, after the whole Helldivers 2 fiasco, they're probably going to want to try and make nice with the PC community, and what better way to do that than by acknowledging your own insignificance with some new PC ports. I stress again that Ragnarok's PC port is not 100% confirmed at the time that I'm making this video, but given Sony's aggressive attitude towards PC expansion, as well as the fact that God of War 2018 was one of their best-selling PC ports to date, Ragnarok is basically confirmed for PC, it's just a matter of time. But you come to this channel to laugh at console fanboys, and rest assured, dear viewer, this tweet covering Ragnarok's PC rumors was more than enough to send some PlayStation fanboys over the edge once again, so come along with me as we take another ride on the Sony ponies acting completely stupid train. At Last of Us PSN says, so every first-party game is just gonna be on PC now? Nintendo is the only real exclusive console at this point. I'm confused as to how this is surprising, like, at all. Sony has been porting games to the PC for years on end. They ported the 2018 God of War to PC, so obviously they're gonna port the sequel, and they've literally said to your face multiple times that they're going to keep porting games to PC. But every time a new one is even rumored, you're like, what? Really? How'd this happen? Also, literally every Nintendo game can be played on PC, all of them. And console exclusivity shouldn't be a buying point of gaming hardware. The fact that you think it is indicative of a larger problem with the industry. I really thought we were over this. Holding games hostage so you don't have to make your platform better is one of the biggest problems with AAA gaming. Getting rid of console exclusivity not only pushes hardware and platforms to be more enticing to buyers with more important things, like performance or what the consumer is actually getting for their money, but it also means the consumer has more options instead of being strong-armed into spending hundreds of dollars on a box they didn't actually want outside of a handful of games that they may or may not like that the box is holding hostage. This is the future, and it's better for everyone. Get over it. Embrace it. It's better for you too. Matthew responds to PSN and says, oh no, more people get to play a game, cry me a river. And then Muda responds, it's the equivalent of selling gym memberships, then letting people in for free after. Obviously those that paid the membership fee will feel scammed. Today I learned apparently Sony is giving these games away for free on the PC. Apparently we don't have to pay for them. Well, I mean, you know, yo-ho-ho notwithstanding. But I'm pretty sure when God of War Ragnarok comes to PC, they're going to be selling it for a fee Like, this analogy is fucking awful. This isn't the equivalent of free gym memberships. Let me make a better gym analogy. I'm gonna make a better gym analogy. So let's say there are two gyms in your neighborhood. One of them is owned by Sony, and the other one is just owned by a local dude. For the sake of the analogy, we'll call the dude Gabe. Sony's gym is stinky and overpriced, while Gabe's gym is more nicely maintained and more fairly priced. But then Sony developed some new gym equipment back in their warehouse, some new machines, and they seem really appealing, but then they only put the new machines in their own gym, the stinky overpriced gym. And instead of using that machine development money to make the stinky overpriced gym not stinky and overpriced, they put the money towards the new machines that they're gonna put in the stinky overpriced gym, because they thought some nice looking equipment would entice people over there instead of the nicer, less overpriced gym without the enticing looking equipment. And then after a while, once the excitement of those new machines wears off, they'll sell the machines to the second gym and get a slice of the membership fee at the second gym. I know that's not how gyms work, but just for the sake of the analogy, go with this. After a while, people are not going to want to deal with the stinky overpriced gym regardless of how nice the machines are in there. And they're just going to go over to Gabe's gym and use Gabe's machines, because it's not like the equipment that Gabe has is bad simply because it's not the equipment that Sony has in their stinky gym, especially if Gabe is going to get Sony's equipment in the future anyways. That is what's happening right now. Sony has been trying to use your interest in their fancy new gym machines as a way to distract you from the fact that their gym sucks ass, and this strategy is not working anymore. And that's not the consumer's fault. It's Sony's. They should have taken some of that money they spent on the fancy equipment and made their gym smell less like ass. Maybe I would have gone there. And if Sony is unwilling to make their gym not smell like ass, and they know that they're not going to get people to switch gyms, why not just put the nice equipment in both gyms at the same time and make money both ways? Because also, apparently no matter how bad their own gym smells and how poorly it's maintained, there's still apparently a lot of people who are going to pay that membership for Sony's gym regardless. So truly, what is the downside of PC ports? Do you get my analogy? Was it clever? Was it clever? Did you like it? Anyways, that's my gym analogy. It was better than yours. You should delete your gym analogy. Your gym analogy is really fucking stupid. Silent Ride Home responds to the news and says, why even own a PS5 at this point? And then Luis responds, it's been a while since it came out on PS5. If you haven't played it by then, you clearly don't care about the game, crying face. Right, because apparently the only way you're allowed to care about a game is by buying it day one on a piece of hardware you don't want. I mean, there's plenty of games that I care about but haven't bought because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation just for them. That doesn't mean I don't care about the game, it just means I care about my money more. I really care about Blink 182, but I'm not paying hundreds of dollars to go see them when they come to town. That doesn't mean I don't care about them, it just means fucking hell, I don't feel like spending that kind of money. I mean, I'm going to Punk and Drublick Fest this summer, tickets to that were like $40. Look at this fucking lineup, $40 for this. Blink, I love ya, but you can eat shit if you think I'm paying $400 just to watch your show from a wimpy ass push pit. Also, this is totally off topic, but apparently Drain was added to the bill as an opener for Blink at the Denver show. It's Blink, Pierce the Veil, and Drain. And as someone who very much enjoys Drain, I'm not sure if the Blink and Pierce the Veil kids are prepared for how their night is going to start. Anyways, back to my video now that I've completely alienated like 70% of my viewers by talking about my music taste. Savage Dom 720 says, do PC players even really deserve PlayStation games at this point? I mean, I don't want to hate, but a lot of PC gamers are toxic as fuck and will ruin an already amazing game. I don't want to start any fights, just some good conversations. How the fuck would PC players ruin a single player game? Like, that doesn't even make sense. How would you accomplish that? But also, I love this. I don't want to hate, but also PC gamers are toxic as fuck. I don't want to start any fights, but PC gamers are toxic as fuck. And all this in reference to a game that was previously exclusive to the PlayStation, where we obviously know there's no toxicity in the player base. None. There's no toxic PlayStation players. PC gamers don't deserve the game, because some of them are toxic. But also, don't flame me for saying this. I said I don't want to hate, I don't want to start fights. I said something deliberately provocative, but don't you dare react to it or else you're toxic. Like, holy shit, grow a spine. Also, look out the window of your glass house for once. PlayStation dudes are constantly screaming and crying about everything. Why do you think there's so many PlayStation fanboy salt videos on YouTube? It's a never-ending gold mine. Like, you can't possibly be trying to say here that PlayStation gamers are completely not toxic. I know you're not trying to say that. Obviously, the PlayStation has some percentage of toxic players. And yet, Sony is still selling games to them. It's almost like having toxicity in the player base doesn't matter to Sony, and they'll sell the games to the player base anyways. Dr. Bonk responds to the news and says, will it be unavailable in 177 countries? And then Bulksu HD says, you don't need PSN to play it. You know, you didn't need PSN to play Helldivers either, which is why it used to be available in almost 200 more countries than it is now, because functionally, you're right, you don't need PSN, as evidenced by the 3 months that the game was available and playable without one. And yet, here we are. Also, friendly reminder that Ghost of Tsushima is racking up the list of unavailable countries, and that list of unavailable countries also just coincidentally happens to be the list of countries that don't have PSN. For Ghost of Tsushima, I can't imagine why people are bringing up PSN in response to God of War Ragnarok news. But also, this lad was unironically retweeting Nick Marcial during the Helldivers 2 PSN fiasco, so I'm not surprised that this is flying right over your head. Worm says, already tired of this PSN Steam debacle. Just buy a PS5 and you'll get to play these games day one. Ugh, I'm tired of consumers having choices. I'm tired of consumer choice. Consumer choice is a debacle. Somehow. Just go out and buy a PS5 so that way you can pay another $70 for a game you might like, maybe. Letting people play the game on their platform of choice is a debacle. Going back to this tweet that Louis said, it's been a while since it came out on PS5, you haven't played it, you don't care. Clem Prime responded, said, or I just want to play it on the superior platform, did you ever think about that? No, you only think of yourself. And then Joda responds, well, if you are playing games for graphics, then I guess you're right. If you still think graphics are the only thing that the PC offers you over the consoles, I really don't know what to tell you anymore. Cheaper games, no paywall between your internet connection and online multiplayer, way more controllers and peripheral options that cost way less than the minimum you'd have to spend for those things on consoles, way better hardware future-proofing through things like graphical settings that let you fine-tune the game to your preferences instead of being locked to whatever resolution and frame rate the devs and publishers choose on for the console version, so that way you can stretch your PC hardware's life way longer than a console would ever allow you to, and the ability to upgrade your PC build piece by piece and even sell the pieces you're done with. That's all way better than having to buy a whole new console if something breaks, or if the stupid fucking Pro version of the console comes out and promises you slightly better graphics sometimes in some games, and you see that as a worthwhile investment for some reason. You have the literal thousands of games that the PC has access to, but the consoles do not, be them indie games or AA games or AAA PC exclusives, which, contrary to popular belief, do indeed exist, as well as all the emulators that you have access to. You have access to basically every console game ever made prior to the PS4 era on the PC, and it's only a matter of time until we get the PS4 era and afterwards on the PC as well. Like, give emulation a few more years, it's going to get there. If you really think the PC only has graphics as an advantage over the consoles, if you really think the console has the edge after everything I just listed in every avenue other than graphics, quite honestly, you deserve to get fucked over by these companies at this point. Like, if you genuinely still think that Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, if you genuinely think a console is offering you a better gaming experience and a better gaming platform in every way other than graphically, you deserve to get fucked over. Because this isn't ignorance anymore. It's just denial, and you deserve it. Going back to Luis's tweet here, he got a response from Alvaro, who says, definitely want to play the game in the best way possible, and that's PC. Mando responds, like Last of Us port? Right, lol. Dude, Last of Us is going to be the new Arkham Knight, I swear. You know how console dudes were holding Arkham Knight over PC gamers' heads for like 8 years after the PC version came out broken, completely ignoring the fact that the PC version of Arkham Knight was fixed like 7 years ago and is now undeniably the best version of the game on the market. It might have even been more than 7 years ago. I forgot it was 2024. Oops. Like, the PC version of Arkham Knight actually fucking slaps now. But you wouldn't know that with how often console dudes still bring up Arkham Knight as an example of bad PC ports. But then Last of Us came along and finally gave them a new example of how terrible PC ports are. But oops, that's awkward. Much like Arkham Knight, the Last of Us PC port has been patched up pretty heavily and is currently sitting with a 91% recent approval rating on Steam and a 71% approval rating overall, which is actually really impressive considering how hard this thing got bent over and spanked during the first few weeks of its life on this platform. But also, are we just going to ignore all the good PC ports that have come out of Sony the last few years? Like, sure, they're not perfect, but they've been pretty solid, like on average. Last of Us was certainly an outlier, is my point. That doesn't matter. The PlayStation dudes are gonna hold on to that shit like their life depends on it because it's all they've got. I also think this is funny because this is all in response to news of a God of War Ragnarok port. God of War Ragnarok is the sequel to God of War 2018, which got a PC port that is great. The PC version of God of War 2018 is an excellent port. Also, Horizon Forbidden West came out like, what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? It had a fantastic PC port. A while back, I 100%ed Spider-Man Remastered on Steam, and that port is excellent as well, minus a few CPU issues that are by no means deal breakers in my opinion, and to my understanding, fixed with mods if it's really that important to you. But no, you guys are gonna hold on to the launch state of Last of Us Part 1 forever because that's how you operate. I can have an entire encyclopedia filled with evidence against your opinions, but if you have even one minor point against me, you're going to dismiss my entire book. You guys are all the same, I swear. Even if that one point isn't even relevant to the conversation, you're gonna keep bringing it up and dismiss my entire encyclopedia of reasons why you're wrong. You console fanboys are all the same. Doesn't even matter what console, you're all the same. And you never get any better at it. That's what blows my mind the most. You've been losing arguments this way for like a decade now, and you still don't feel the need to shake up your tactics. It's so weird. Like, do you genuinely think you're winning? Cause you're not. Let's scoot over to a different source. IGN also reported on the news of a potential Ragnarok PC port announcement. Firebreather responds, Sony should drop the PC market. Absolutely nothing makes them happy. Or just give us Bloodborne and Demon's Souls, then we'd all be happy. Like, straight up, I don't know what Sony's waiting for. Literally every Souls-like with a half-decent marketing push or word of mouth makes bank on PC. I truly don't know what you're waiting for. You're just sitting on 2 FromSoft Soulsborne games and not releasing them on the FromSoft Soulsborne platform for some reason. When PC guys talk about Sony being allergic to money, this is precisely what we're referring to. You're releasing God of War 1.5 on PC before the FromSoft games. You released fucking Sackboy on PC almost 2 years ago and still haven't said a peep about the games we actually want over here. It's getting comical. It's been comical. Ugh, PC gamers are just never happy with Sony. Gee willikers, mister. I wonder how they could change that instantly. T says, OMG, all Sony games going to PC. What's the point in having a PlayStation now? PlayStation owners jump ship. PlayStation is just going to a third-party developer. First of all, PlayStation is a publisher, not a developer. But also, not sure if you know this, but PlayStation has been a third-party publisher, like, for quite some time now. Like, even if you don't want to talk about all the PC ports, have you heard of a game called Destiny? Or how about a game called MLB The Show? Both of which are available on Xbox. PlayStation is a third-party publisher. They're just not as varied in their third-party practices as other third-party publishers, but it's only a matter of time, especially on the PC. Oh god, like, I love how PlayStation dudes just ignore reality. Sony has literally been throwing their business strategy in your face for years now, and you still act surprised when they continue along the business strategy that hasn't changed. I also love that you guys still pretend to actually like these games when you also unironically shit yourself when you learn more people get to play them. Fun fact, and I know many of you know this, but if your enjoyment of a game is impacted by it being an exclusive, like if you actually, unironically, have a positive or negative change in your opinion of a game simply because of the logo on the box it's being held hostage on, you don't actually like that game. So crack open a cold one, go play another Crab's Treasure, and also listen to Drain. They're a really good band. Okay, toodles.